The Legend of Zelda, arguably one of the most iconic video game franchises of all time. For nearly 4 decades, this series has been synonymous with quality and innovation. And as we approach the 40th anniversary next year, and hot off of the heels of two of the most successful entries in the franchise yet, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, we're left wondering, what's next for this iconic series? With the Nintendo Switch 2 now out in the wild, it is only natural that we start to speculate on when we will get this next iteration of Zelda. And it's not just a matter of when, but also what direction said iteration will go in. Because for as successful as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have been, they have also presented an interesting conundrum within the Zelda fanbase. Said conundrum being, is the old school formula of Zelda dead now that the open world trajectory in which the series has been going in these last few years seems to be the permanent direction that the franchise is going towards? This is the contemporary situation Zelda fans are now currently facing. All that's left to see is to hear from Nintendo themselves in terms of what we can expect from the next installment. Greetings and salutations, everybody. GamingOtakuGeek here, and I'll be the first to admit, I am not a super Zelda aficionado, like I am not a die-hard fan. And what I mean by this is that I consider myself to be a casual Zelda fan, as I've only played a handful of titles, some of which are the most recognizable within the fandom. Those being Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. So I may not exactly be the person to give an opinion on where Zelda should go from here, but, I just thought that I would chime in with my 2 cents anyway. One thing I can definitely say, which I feel that is a unanimous thought among the Zelda fandom, is the fact that this franchise is so versatile, and this franchise is so unique in the fact that it can be able to take a familiar concept and be able to imbue it with new life with each iteration that passes. Very few gaming franchises can remain in the mainstream and retain relevance for as long as Zelda has. And a major part of that is that Nintendo is always willing to try something new with the series, which in turn leads to the fandom having subsections, subgenres within said fandom that, cater to specific games in the franchise. There will be people that say that the top-down formula is their bread and butter. Others will say that the 3D format is the way to go. Some people will take more to Twilight Princess's darker tone, while others may go more in favor of the cartoony/Ghibli-esque style of Wind Waker. No matter which way you look at it, the one thing that the Zelda fandom will never run out of is discourse when it comes to discussing the various games across the entire breadth of the series from its beginnings in 1986 all the way to where we're at now in 2025. And right now, the debate seems to be on whether or not the next Zelda should take the open world format that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have popularized, or go back to a more traditional way, such as Ocarina and Twilight Princess. Even with the freedom that the current games have bestowed upon the players, many fans still yearn for the old-school Zelda experience, and that's okay. But it seems more so that Eiji Aonuma is moving away from that standard and focusing more so on the future, which is also okay. What I feel is the next step is that the next installment take the best of both iterations, of both styles, of both formulas that have made Zelda into the beloved franchise that it is today, and incorporate them in a way that makes both sides of the fandom happy. And of course, you can't please everyone, but at the very least, with this new installment, it could be the perfect bridge for old school fans, more recent fans, and new generations of fans that are yet to come. But one thing that I am thinking though, is that since the live-action Legend of Zelda movie is set to release in 2027, I feel that all attention is going to be focused on the film, and as such, any Zelda game that we get in the interim would probably be a remaster, port, or remake of some sort. So it may even be that we might not see a new entry up until 2028 or 2029. And knowing how Nintendo likes to take their time with the major flagship entries in their franchises, I feel that it is safe to say that whatever they decide to do next for Zelda, it is going to be monumental. Because whenever a new mainline entry drops, all eyes are on Nintendo. With all that being said, I'm going to express what I would like to see in the next installment. A major thing is to have a whole new Hyrule. Because yes, as beautiful as this latest rendition has been, we have explored it enough times to where if Nintendo really decides to bring us back to this particular rendition of Hyrule, I feel it will start upsetting fans because what more can you really do? You've already explored the sky and you've already explored the depths. So I definitely feel that it is very important to provide a new version of Hyrule for whatever comes next. Or it can be an entire new locale in general, because the franchise has not been opposed to offering, different locations every now and then that aren't specifically Hyrule. It's all up to the people at Nintendo and the use of their imaginations. But yes, they should make sure that whatever location they use for the next game is brand new, or at least new enough that it'll entice already established players while also drawing in new ones. Another thing that I would like to see is if the next entry more so tries to connect the timelines, because one thing that is a big point of contention within the Zelda fandom, at least from what I've seen, because again, I'm not a diehard, so I may be speaking out of turn here, is the fact that the timeline of the series is so complex that because of the events of Ocarina of Time, the timeline splits into 3 different variations. And with many experts in the fandom saying that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom take place so far ahead in the future of the timeline, is that it basically converges all 3 variations into one. It makes me wonder if the next game would take place even further off into the future. But at that point, would it start becoming too sci-fi? Because then I feel that would detract a lot from the identity of Zelda as a high fantasy series. I'm interested in seeing where the story goes, especially in concerns to the timeline. Will Nintendo try to unify everything in order to satisfy the purists and lore keepers? Or will they just go about the way that they have always done so and basically just leave it up to the player's imagination? That, I feel, is interesting in and of itself. I would also like a return to traditional dungeons, because while yes, I am not the most puzzle-savvy person, I did enjoy exploring the different dungeons because they each provided such a unique and different set of obstacles to overcome, as well as the designs were just great. Twilight Princess having one of my favorite set of dungeons, across the games that I have played, because like I said, I've only played a handful. I understand the appeal of the open world formula, but I also understand the yearning for the old-school traditional dungeon-based exploration that the series became famous for. While Tears of the Kingdom did try harder to bridge the gap between the 2 worlds, I honestly feel that the next game should take it a step further and make it a very clear and well-defined middle ground. Said middle ground being what I feel should be a perfect compromise between having complex dungeons in the vein of old-school Zelda games, while also retaining the open-world aspect that has endeared people that have become big, massive fans of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. If you can strike that balance just right, I feel that the fandom will be left very happy. On a small little side note, I enjoyed the voice acting in the most recent games, and so I feel that Nintendo should double down, because, they do not lack the money. They should definitely double down and focus on the voice acting, and not just incorporate it into the most important cutscenes, but also make it a point to incorporate it into every aspect of the world, down to the NPCs, because I feel that that would bring the immersion to a whole new level. Again, Nintendo has the money, so I feel that this is something that they would not have a problem being able to execute. Alrighty, now that we got that out of the way, next I want to talk about what the art style should be. Because while yes, The most recent games have had a stunning look to them that combines the best of Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Wind Waker. I feel that it's time to move in a new direction. Not just because it's the innovative way or it's the creative way, but because I feel that if you make another game with the same art style, you risk alienating the fandom due to them thinking that the current art style is stale at this point. Like, imagine a Zelda game in the style of Okami. That would be a visually striking art style, or something along the lines of Expedition 33. Obviously not to say that Nintendo would go for such a realistic look, but more so the aesthetic of it. Because each era of Zelda is defined by a specific look, a specific flair, a specific style, and a specific aesthetic. So I feel that by changing it up for the new generation, for the new era, I feel that it would make great strides in ensuring that the next installment is a home run. All in all, Nintendo now stands on the precipice of basically revolutionizing this franchise once again. Only time will tell what's in store for this series in the future, but all I know is that I'm excited. If there's any IP that Nintendo values the most, it is most definitely Zelda. And just for that, I know for sure that whatever we get next is going to be absolutely incredible. And as I am sure that the Switch 2 will have a long life cycle, I feel that we may at the very least get 2 Zelda games. Maybe not just one, but 2 brand new ones. But then again, what do I know? All I know is that the fandom will most definitely keep their eyes peeled for any news. And well, those are my thoughts on the subject. What about y'all? What would you like to see in a new Zelda game? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And which Zelda game is your absolute favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe. But anyways, until next time, this has been GamingOtakuGeek, signing out.